So I guess the best place to start is I was called to be a missionary at the young age of 10 years old. God spoke to me whenever I was just a kid. And I said, God, no matter what you want me to do, no matter where you want me to go, I'll go. And God spoke back. He said, you will reach the nations. So fast forward to being a 17-year-old kid, and I grew up on a farm my entire life. I remember the day that I was down there taking care of our dogs, and I was shoveling up animal waste, to put it nicely, and I was just arguing with God. I was like, God, look at what I'm doing. Why would you call me? I'm a nobody. I'm a homeschool kid from the back of Gaffney, South Carolina. There are a million people you could call that would be better qualified to be missionaries. And I remember I took a big scoop, and whenever I did, God spoke to me in that moment, and he said, look at what you're doing. And I remember shaking the shovel. I said, exactly, look at me, look at what I'm doing. And God said, I've been preparing you your entire life for what I've called you to do. For 10 years, I've told this story 100 times. And I've always known the significance of the moment for what happened and accepting my calling, but I've never understood until a few months ago the significance of what I was doing. And January 3rd of this year, our funds were probably lower than they've been in a very long time. And I got a phone call from a lady named Kim Hager. She's a pastor's wife. She said, Bryson, I was just in the house doing something, and she said, God just arrested my spirit and told me to call and tell you that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and he owns the hills, and he's about to turn his cows loose on you. And man, I just started crying in the carport of the place that we were staying, because I knew that was a word from God. So we moved to Port Elizabeth a few months later. We know without a doubt this is where we're meant to be. Not just Africa, not just South Africa, but we were meant to be in Port Elizabeth. And I'll never forget, I was driving down the street, went to turn down a road, and when I did, there was a young guy sitting there, maybe 19 years old. He was wearing just dirty coveralls, rubber boots, holding a bucket of mismatched tools, and a sign. He said, I work for 50 Rand a day. That's $2.50. He'll work for $2.50 for the entire day. And he's not bluffing. He's standing there holding a bucket of tools, just hoping someone would come and pick him up. It's not that they're not willing to work, it's that there's no jobs. So when they find themselves on the streets, they can't find work. They're willing to work, they can't find work. And so they have to turn to something, and they turn to drugs, and then there's no way to get out of the cycle. I have no idea why I prayed this prayer. I have no idea. I said, God, send a farmer to pick him up today. Send a farmer to pick him up and give him work for the day. And in that moment, man, my mind raced back 10 years to a 17-year-old kid on the farm holding a shovel full of animal waste, and God saying, I've prepared you your entire life for what I've called you to do. In that moment, I knew God had called me to be that farmer. So we started searching, man. We started looking through the internet, and I was like, let's go look at this farm. Let's look at this one. I showed Anna, and she loves it. She thinks it's beautiful. This entire year, I've known the prophecy that God gave me. I've known it, and I've walked in it, and I've believed for it. But man, we pull up to this property, and it is full of cows, and it's full of hills. And man, in that moment, like the feeling that I felt of seeing such a moment of my life from a 17-year-old kid to a prophecy that I received a year ago, to not understanding what either moment meant, to here I am standing on this farm and understanding that this is such a full circle moment of God preparing me from the moment that I started farming as a little kid to this moment now. So man, we're here on the farm, and we want to buy this place. But I want to turn this facility into a place where we can go out and we can get these guys who are bound in darkness. We can bring them to the farm. We can allow them to work the farm. We'll use the infrastructure of the farm. We'll use the cattle. We'll use the livestock. We'll use the gardening, everything that we're able to produce from the farm. we'll be able to provide it to the local communities. So not only are you bringing these guys into a rehabilitation system, you're giving them housing, you're able to give them funding, you're able to give them food, you're able to give them the gospel, but you're able to give them purpose. We're able to give them a genuine shot at a better life, and we're able to show them that because of the love of Jesus Christ, that God still sees them in their situation, and someone was willing to come into the darkness and pull you out to bring you into the light. But you know, it wouldn't be God if that was all that there is to this. I had a really, really difficult time getting involved in missionary work, a really hard time. It took me years to get on the mission field. And I believe short-term mission trips are great, but it doesn't give you a true view of what being a missionary and living in a foreign country actually is. And so I want this to be a place where young people can come out, they get hands-on training and things like theology and apologetics, but also cross-cultural ministry, basic first aid, things that they might not know that if they end up in a third world country would be very beneficial to know, where they're not just going overseas with no plan, no training, but we're strategically placing young people around this world to ensure that we fulfill the Great Commission. It wasn't a suggestion or a request when Jesus said, go and make disciples. It was a command. And there's people right now, there's 3.4 billion people around this world right now who have never heard the name Jesus Christ. And we believe that that's too much for us to reach. We believe that it's not possible. But if we trained 64 missionaries a year, 64, 3 years, we would have a missionary for every single country in the entire world. Don't tell me we can't fulfill the Great Commission in our lifetime. I want Elijah kind of faith. No matter how big of a jump this is, no matter how far-fetched this is, if I step out, God will move. We need about $450,000 to purchase 125 acres, this fenced in with cows already on it, house already on it, facilities for young missionaries already on it, and a place that can easily be converted for the rehab already on it. We could start now. We believe that this genuinely isn't just a financial need. We believe that God can truly give us these hills because they are indeed His hills. And so that's why we've decided to call this farm His Hills, because they truly are His hills, and we believe that He's going to give them to us.